Hi, this is Dr. Green. We are looking at WebAssign Homework 8 and problem number 5. So in this problem, we have some students that are asked to rate their preference for one of 4 sports. And the table here lists the observed preferences in this sample of 80 students. So 20 students said they preferred each of the sports: football, baseball, soccer, and volleyball. So those are what are called observed counts. So that's what we observe from collecting data. And we want to state whether to retain or reject the null hypothesis for a chi-square goodness of fit test. So this is a hypothesis test, but usually with a hypothesis test, you're testing does the first mean equal the second mean, or is it, less than the second mean? So here we've got, 4 different populations here: the people that like football, baseball, soccer, and volleyball. And what we want to do is test and see if the preferences fit a distribution. And in this case, they want us first to test in part A if the expected frequencies are 25% for each sport. So what that's saying is that our null hypothesis that we're testing is that the proportion of people that prefer the first sport is equal to the proportion that prefer the second, is equal to the proportion that prefer the third, which is equal to the proportion that prefer the fourth, which is 25%. So they're all 25%. So it's testing to see if you fit a distribution rather than if things are just equal, less than, or equal, not equal. So we're going to carry this out in SPSS. We'll do an example by hand here in a little bit, but we're going to carry this out with SPSS. So the SPSS steps, and these are also on the exam 3 formula sheet, are right here, and I will take you through those. So first what we have to do is we have to code in our data, and I've already done that, so let me go ahead and show you what the data looks like. So here's our coded data. If we look at the variable view here, you see that we have a sport variable, which is a string variable. Okay, so that's going to be the name of the sport. And then we have the count, which are the number of people that preferred that sport, and that's a numeric variable with 0 decimal places. So that first one, the name of the sport, that's nominal, that's just a category, and the other one is going to be a scale variable. So let's go back to data view. So what you'll do is just enter in the name of each one of the sports and then enter the counts, and ours were 20 for each sport. They were all equal. And then after you have that data entered in, one column for your group and one column for your counts, then you need to go to data. You go all the way down to the bottom to weight cases, which is actually off the bottom of the screen on this video, but it's the very last one. And then you click weight cases by, and then our only scale variable in here is count. So we bring that over as our frequency variable. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. And so we've set that for the variable that we're going to weight cases by. So now we're going to do analysis, and then we're going to go to nonparametric tests and one sample. And then you get this window. And what you want to do here is first click on the Fields tab here, and then your grouping variable, which in this case is sport, should appear over here in the test fields. Okay, and if it doesn't, then you need to go ahead and move that over. So ours is already here. Under settings then, what you want to do is you want to click customize here, and then you want to click for chi-squared test here, so the second option. So once you've got that done, then you want to click that options box there, and then the default is that all the categories have equal probability. So that's what happened in our case. They were all 25%. If they're not equal, then you're going to click this other button and you'll enter the category and then its relative frequency, the proportion. But all ours are equal, that's the default, so we're good there. We're going to click OK. and then we're going to click Run. And our output is coming up here, and there we go, nonparametric tests. Let's go ahead and widen this window out. And then it's got our hypothesis test summary. And in this question, all they ask us is retain or reject the null. So if we go back here, are we going to retain or reject the null hypothesis? So that's this box here, the hypothesis test summary. And I went ahead and brought that over here. So that's this box. And notice that it says we are going to retain the null hypothesis. So we're going to retain. And this, the significance there is 1.00. So remember, you want significance. This is p-value. You want that less than 0.05, and it's way bigger than 0.05. So we're not going to reject the null hypothesis. So if you want more information, like if you need the test statistic, then just double-click this box. And it'll open up another window for you, and then you'll be able to see what the test statistic is. Now I do want to mention here, sometimes I've gotten this warning, and it seems like it's still given the correct information here. This at least one case, the value of the weight variable was 0, negative, or missing. But sometimes if you get that warning, it means that it didn't read something properly, and you need to go back and see what the program was missing, what it didn't read correctly. So then in part B, they change the expected frequencies up on us here, and they say now we want to test this, out of 80 people, 20 preferred each sport in our observed values, but they're going to say, well, what we expected was a split of 60%, 20%, 10%, 10%. So that's saying the proportion of people that prefer football is 60%, baseball is 20%, soccer is 10%, and volleyball is 10%. So we want to test and see if this is true or not. So we're going to go through the same steps. We've got the same data. So there's our data again. Now we don't have to do the data and weight cases down at the bottom. We don't have to do that step again because we've already done it once. So it's going to remember that. But we do then go to Analyze, Nonparametric, One Sample. And then we go to our Fields tab, make sure Sport is in there, to our Settings tab, click Custom Tests, and then Compare Observed Probabilities, chi-squared. Now under our options here, we want to click Customize Expected Probability. So now we want to adjust these the probabilities on the right hand side. So our categories here were football, and then the frequency for that one was 0.6, and then we had baseball, and the frequency there was 0.2 that we were testing against, and then we had soccer, and that frequency that we were testing against was 0.1, and then we had volleyball, and that frequency was 0.1. And I'll just double check here. .6, 0.2, 0.1, 0.1. Okay, and then we're going to click OK, and then we're going to click Run. And then here's our output, and the important thing this time is that we are rejecting null hypothesis. So let's take this guy and copy it back over. That's right here. And we are now rejecting the null hypothesis. Again, if we wanted more information, we could double click that box in SPSS. So that is saying that we're going to reject the null hypothesis. Above, we did not reject, so we concluded that all the proportions were the same as what we expected. But here we're rejecting it, and we're saying, hey, the proportions are not 60, 20, 10, 10. At least one of those is different. That's what that test is telling us.